Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 5, Farm to Table. Hey, Chef Greg, how's it going?
It is good. Everything's good. Thank you. How about you?
Good, thanks. How's everybody out there? Sounds like everybody's doing all right, getting ready for the next round of holidays, I hope, whatever it is that you celebrate. And getting ready for winter break, which starts in next week, which is going to be awesome. Give everybody a little break to rest, relax, and important, if you have missed any of the assignments, I would highly, highly, highly suggest utilizing that time to make those assignments up. So that way when we can jump back on January 8th, all you have to do, drop those missed assignments in there, bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. Stress release, you're not having to double up in the second half of the class with any missed assignments. You'll be caught up. So on that note, let's hear from you all first. Would anybody like to tell us about your experience with granola or bean salad? All right, Chef, anything that you noticed in the bean salad or the granola this week that you want to point out?
There was a ton of good work. I know it kind of seems like an odd mixture of beans and oats in the same assignment, but just think about the big picture of what time. It's December 11th right now. So we're in winter. We're not in prime growing season or availability. You go to the grocery store, cucumbers are more expensive, or it's hard to get tomatoes. But these products, they don't fluctuate in price. You can buy oats in the summer, same price as men in the winter. So when you own a business, you need some things to fall back on. These are great things to, one, they're good for the environment, but these are great things financially to fall back on. People pay like $10 for bags of granola in like Whole Foods. That's absolutely insane. It's something that is honestly really quick and easy to make. You can put any type of fruit, sweet, savory seeds that you want in there. So just remember this in the wintertime when you own your own business and you're maybe struggling to adjust your menu. These are just quick, easy things to be able to get you through.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely using those staples, like Chef said, constant price. You know that you're not going to have fluctuation in your menu pricing at that point, more or less, So those are really great things to have on your menu. And they sell, and they are quite profitable as well. So now let's hop on in. I see that Sandra said bean salad is better than you thought it'd be. Good. Yeah, bean salad can be great, really once you start playing also with different seasonings, how you season your bean salad, right? You can really make it your own, and incorporating different ingredients, just like Chef said about granola, incorporating different ingredients for that as well, right? Can really have a huge array, and you could make those dishes seasonal, right? So you could have that base product being, the constant, but then, hey, your bean salad during summer, you're adding corn in there and jalapenos, right? Maybe your granola during the months, you're changing it based on nuts or seeds or whatever, the spices that you use to play on that. Really good way. They're great neutral backdrops to play and create your piece on. So this week is pretty cool, everybody. We are going to be talking about, we're going to be learning a new technique, which is called en papilote, which is a French term, which basically means in newspaper. En papilote, the papilote was the paper in a package. We're going to be using parchment paper for this, of course, food safe parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you can use aluminum foil, but parchment paper is the traditional way to do this dish. I'm sure a lot of you have done this technique while camping, where you basically make a little pouch and you are cooking within that pouch using another heat source, but containing it in that pouch vessel that you make. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that technique later on in the class. But more importantly, we're going to start talking about sustainability and how it relates to the seas, how it relates to fish. All right, because guess what? Almost every menu, you're going to have some type of fish or seafood on there, right? Whether it's shrimp or salmon, tilapia, which is a classic you'll see on a lot of menus, cod as well. There's a lot to talk about in the wild caught versus farm raised realm of seafood. So I want to ask you all some questions first. Who here has ever had wild caught fish? Anybody in the
Kelly says yes.
Kelly? Okay, so we've got some people who have wild caught. Who's had farm raised fish? Okay, what do we know? What if you've had both, or if you've at least seen both of them at the grocery store? What are some of the biggest things that you notice that are the difference? What's the biggest difference from wild caught versus farm raised? Anybody know?
Jason said out of the ocean, but what about, let's think about the color difference between the two.
Color, price. Class, we'd love to have some interaction from you. Farm raised has more color. Sandra said. All right. Well, then let's just continue on with this, Chef Greg. You and I are gonna have a great talk tonight.
Fair enough.
All right.
Do it.
So, class, I would like you to take a look at this first and foremost. Let's just run through the class page, maybe get you guys bearings so that you guys are feeling good and comfortable with what's going to be happening this week, and then we will start diving into this. All right, so here we are this week, week 5. Obviously, research materials, you've got your knowledge checks. I've noticed you guys have been doing a great job on knocking out your knowledge checks. Keep that up, really important. Overall, those add up over the duration of the course and do contribute to your overall grade. You will be making both of these recipes, the en papilote of the fish or seafood and vegetable. You do have to make both. They do have to be separate, and they are the same technique, which is cool. But you're going to see how quickly and how differently they do cook based on protein versus vegetables. Now, hopping into your research materials, all right, you'll see you've got quite a number of things to watch and read. Chapter 20 is all about fish cookery, all right? Then we've got a few other reading chapter excerpts on professional cooking, as well as this little PDF, this awesome little put together of giving you a little quick breakdown of commercial fishing versus sustainable seafood and aquaculture. All right, just a quick read. Another thing we're going to be going over tonight, though, is this link, Wild Seafood, seafoodwatch.com. .org, excuse me, which comes from Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is the leading source on, one of the leading sources on our oceans and overfishing and how we become sustainable. Okay. Now, additionally, you will see there are 2 ways to fabricate whole fish. All right. Flat fish, round fish. Once you've learned that technique for the either flat fish or round fish, those can be applied to all of the flat and round fish separately, okay? Because fish are generally designed in once you know how to cook fillet and break down and fabricate a round fish, you can do that to every round fish, whether it's salmon or trout. Guess what? Surprise, surprise. Trout, salmon, same family, all right? You'll start to notice a lot of similarities between fish as well. Flatfish is a different beast, but very important to know how to fabricate. And then you've got, as well as the technique on fish and papilote. So you'll be watching all of those. So let me pull this up one second. We were talking about, we put the question out there as to, hey, what are some of the differences between farm raised and wild caught. And so here we go. Let me just pull up this image so that we can get a good look on here. I highly suggest also, everybody, start when you go to the grocery store, right? Or if you're lucky enough to have a fish market nearby, go check it out. Start looking at what fish is out there, okay? As you will see, all right, some of these, you know, as we always talk about in class, you gotta make sure that you're getting reputable sources. Some people are gonna really try to push their point, okay? Such as something like this, which is drastically different. They've taken two ends of the spectrum. That's fine. Those are two things that really do exist. Here's a bit more realistic, these two right here, down here, that show that it's not just this really insane contrast, but you will notice there is a big difference. Farm raised, okay? Farm raised has a lot more fat generally, okay? Now, that has to do with a few things. One, it has to do with their diet, and two, it has to deal with they're not out in the waters moving around as much. They're usually kept in pens. Some of them, and sometimes they are not large pens. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Depends upon the actual company that's raising them. So that's why they have more fat, right? They're not as active. You'll see that the wild caught here on the left side, darker color, less fat. Now, we know, right, that what we eat changes the color, right? So does anybody know where the color comes from for this dark red orange hue? Does anybody know where that color is coming from? Krill, yeah, Mary, awesome, you're right. So they are eating, it's based on their diet, okay? So out in the wild, let's say I'm noshing up these little teeny little red little krill, right? And getting that pigment and that coloration into their skin, right? Their muscle meat. Now, when you're in a farm raised situation, unless they're getting krill in their diet, how do we think they're getting that coloring? Dye. Yeah, you're right. Can be contributed by dye. Does anybody, I see somebody saying that farm raised are being fed corn. Not just corn, but you're right. Corn and another mix, right? Usually corn and soy. So just like all of our animals, most of our cattle and chicken that are farm raised on farms, are being fed a mixture of soy and corn, grain. So too are farm raised fish, right? This is fish feed or cattle feed or chicken feed. Okay, it's a bunch of different grains, legumes mixed together, often formed in a pellet and then given to the animals. So that's a big difference, right? Whether we're talking about fish or land animals, their natural diet, they eat out in the wild, right? Just like chickens go around pecking at little insects and grubs. They're eating something different when they're in a hen house, in a chicken coop and getting fed stuff. So too is the same for these fish, okay? So as we always say, there's no right and wrong answer. There's a lot of research to be done to understand where is value, right? Farm-raised salmon is generally quite a bit cheaper, less expensive than wild caught salmon, right? Because you've got controlled feed, you've got a controlled area, you know your costs, right? They're contained. You don't have this huge operation of going out to catch these fish in the wild, which costs a lot because you've got a whole team going out hoping to catch them. So there's cost differences, okay? There's flavor profile difference. Flavors are going to be completely different in wild caught versus farm raised. Who eats shrimp around here? I know I love shrimp. I love shrimp. Love it, love it, love it. Guess what? Majority of the shrimp that you're eating at a restaurant is farm raised shrimp. Unless it specifically denotes that it's wild caught, you're eating farm raised shrimp. Does anybody know where majority of the farm-raised shrimp is coming from?
The Pacific and Gulf?
Yep, Pacific Gulf. You've got a lot of great job. You've got a lot coming out of Asia. All right. You've got a ton of shrimperies in Thailand, Southeast Asia. Now, what do we think when I've got some important stats to point out. The U.S. consumes more fish and seafood only behind China. Okay, that is a lot of fish and seafood, right? We know fish and seafood is good, right? It's a component of a healthy, based diet. Trying to not just eat animal products, eating fish, right? But guess what? That means we're importing a lot of fish and seafood. Importing a ton of fish and seafood. All those little pot stickers that you get at a restaurant, right? The shrimp pot stickers, guess what? That shrimp's coming from somewhere, right? Okay, shrimp poppers, all of this. Start to think about where you see shrimp. What about Red Lobster? How are they able to offer those prices for all this fish and seafood? If you think about how certain restaurants are able to offer really low prices for steak, beef, hamburgers, chicken, Red Lobster's doing the same thing, but with fish and seafood. How do they do that? One, by purchasing a large quantity, but two, by maybe not having the top, best, high quality fish or seafood. Okay? That's not to say it's wrong or right. We want to let everybody know how to make your best purchases for your establishment and how to be authentic in and represent what you are selling, and to be aware of what you're buying and how that contributes to overall sustainability. Okay, so I'm going to pull up something really interesting. Who here thinks that we talk about a lot of truths or falsification, fraud. Do we think that every time we go into a restaurant or go to buy sushi at the grocery store, or go to an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet, one of my favorite places to have some fun, not gonna lie, I love an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet. Well, not a buffet, but all-you-can-eat, made to order, but still, all-you-can-eat. Guess what? What if I told you, let me pull this up, that, what if I told you that there's a lot of fish fraud going on? I'm going to bring up this PDF from Oceana. They conducted a study and they found that a huge percentage of the fish that we're consuming is mislabeled. So here we go. Let's get into this, guys and gals. Here we go. All right. Seafood fraud nationwide. That's pretty huge. Nationwide. This is not just in one area. This is nationwide. Okay. So we get into it. All right. We start going into this. Okay. 90% of the seafood consumed in the U.S. is imported. That's a lot. 90%. It's a heck of a lot. So where is it coming from? Who's labeling all that? What are their practices in catching fish? Are they good? Are they safe? Are they healthy? We've heard about how fish are being, some fish species are overfished, right? So guess what? They're at risk of becoming extinct because we're catching them all and they don't have enough time to reproduce and grow their schools of fish again. So larger fish, we keep catching large tuna, large other fish, we run the risk of having a dwindling portion, right? Family population, as well as increased prices. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into this. 18% of every snapper, right? 80% of total fish was mislabeled in the state of Washington. Every single piece of snapper was mislabeled.
Chef, the page didn't switch.
Oh, it didn't?
No, it still says the Oceana study.
It's still just the front page? It's not moving?
No.
Let me, hold on. Shooters, 1 second. Let me pull this up. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Do you have it accessible? Do you want me to go on to?
No, I got it. Thank you.
Understood.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Here we go. If I pull it up from the website, it might. I don't know why it didn't move with that. It's kind of weird. Sorry, class. Let's see if this works. Why is this not working? Hold on, class. Let me see if this does anything better. Sorry. You see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Cool, thanks. So, here we go. 18% mislabeled all fish tested in Seattle. 21% mislabeled in Portland, Oregon. With more than 25% of the retail outlets visited sold mislabeled fish. That is a huge percentage. 38% mislabeled in Northern California. 52% mislabeled in Southern California. We all know those fish tacos going out there, right? Fish tacos and lots of sushi in Southern California. Guess what? You're getting fooled, all right? A lot of the time, 52% of the time. 36% of the time in Denver, Colorado. Now, what's really interesting here, we've got Gulf grouper was sold as a more sustainable fish called black grouper. What do we think the reason for doing that? You have one grouper, right, that is on an endangered list and being marketed and labeled as something that's more sustainable. Why would people do that? Anybody?
Jason said money.
Yeah, you got it. You're right. Also, think about this. If I want to purchase, I want to contribute to the positive area of sustainable fishing, right? I want to get that sustainable black grouper. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to do that because you can sell that now, right? Even though you're selling something that's endangered. Continuing on, 35% mislabeled in Kansas City. Overfished Atlantic cod was sold as orange roughy, which actually is another unsustainable choice. Okay? 48% of the retail outlets sold mislabeled seafood in Texas. 49% were mislabeled. In Austin, every single sushi sample was mislabeled. This is huge, everybody. Do you understand what this is for the restaurant industry? The fact that we have all of this mislabeling, 32% in Chicago. (56% in Pennsylvania. Tilapia was substituted for red snapper, which followed a national trend. Now here's something really important to look at. Check this out, New York. Tilefish, a fish that is on the FDA's do not eat list for sensitive groups, meaning, weakened immune systems, other type of, infections one might have, pregnancy, anything like that where you're not supposed to have a lot of toxins, mercury being one of the highest toxins found in shrimp, in fish. It was sold as halibut and red snapper. So this is putting people at risk. This is not just I mislabeled it. We're actually putting the health at risk of individuals, which is a big no-no, right? That's like the same as doing, not the same, but similar to saying something is vegetarian when you're using chicken stock in it, right? You cannot do that. It's not true. All right, continuing. 38% in South Florida, 25% in Georgia, 26% in Washington, D.C. Now, keep on going. Here's something that you want to take a look at. Here's something that you should keep your eyes out of, okay? Out for commonly mislabeled fish. What is being labeled, what you're actually getting. Now, the fact of the matter is, unless you're a real fish expert, it would be pretty hard to tell, right? You're getting this little 1-inch by 2-inch piece of fish in your sushi, or you're getting a seared something that's baked and baked or breaded and pan fried or breaded and deep fried. Are you looking that closely at your shrimp or your fish to find out what it actually is? Do you know? No way, I don't know. Chef Greg doesn't know. Most people don't know. If you're just looking at a small piece of fish, what they had to do was test the DNA. That's how they know that this was truly mislabeled. The question starts to become, where is it getting mislabeled? What do you guys think? Where do you think it's getting mislabeled?
FDA?
Pardon me?
The FDA?
The FDA? It's a good guess. But let's think about the supply chain, right? Let's think about how many people are touching that fish. So you first have the fishermen or fisher ladies, the fish people out there fishing, right? They're catching whatever. They're bringing that haul in. They're either processing it on the boat or bringing it to, the local port and processing it there, depending upon how far offshore they are, okay? Then that's getting, most of the time, filleted on the spot, right? Deboned, gutted, everything, taken care of there. Sometimes it's just getting gutted and sold whole. But that's getting sold to one company. Maybe it's frozen at that time. Usually they're flash freezing, okay? To the next company, finally to the restaurant. So that's the problem. We don't know how to track it, because it could be getting mislabeled right on the boat, could be getting mislabeled after that first person. Because if I'm buying a super cheap cut of fish, right, that I know is selling on the market for $2 a pound, but I'm gonna label it, like Jason was saying, money, for something that's right now currently selling for $4 a pound on the market. Guess what I just did? For every pound I sold, it's as if I sold 2. I just doubled my profit right there. Remember, not everybody is doing business the right way, unfortunately. I wish everybody did. Sadly, that's not the world we live in. There are a lot of loopholes. There are a lot of ways people can get around stuff, and this happens, all right? So that's why it is so important to know where you are getting your fish from, a reputable fishmonger, a reputable fish purveyor, okay? You want to know who you're purchasing your fish from, because they are the experts, right? If you're not an expert, you need to go to an expert to make sure you're getting the right stuff. What's interesting is, look at this. Who is mislabeling the most? So obviously 74%, this is crazy, 74% of that sushi venues are mislabeled. Restaurants do a little bit better job, 38%. Grocery stores doing really quite well with 18%. Now, remember, that's most likely because grocery stores, fewer steps between, okay? Plus, sushi venues, they're cranking out that all-you-can-eat sushi for everybody. They're buying whatever they can. White tuna, where is it? I think it says it here, Escalar. This is a classic. If you've been eating white tuna sushi rolls, you've been eating Escalar, 100%. If you were eating white tuna, you would never be, you wouldn't be able to afford it unless you're at a really fine dining restaurant, to be honest. You're going to find that at a fine dining restaurant, not at anywhere else. All right. So this is talking about how do you fix this, right? Seafood traceability, okay? Tracking fish from boat to plate. This would reduce seafood fraud, okay? That's a great idea, as long as this actually happens, okay? So without certain laws in place, we're not going to get that, okay? We're not going to necessarily have that, other than, you see this, what it says, the federal government needs to increase seafood inspections and testing. It would be great if we had enough FDA, USDA inspectors going out to all of the establishments, slaughterhouses, warehouses, meat packers, fish fabrication, but we don't. We just simply don't have enough of that government control, all right? But ask questions, check the price, purchase the whole fish, right? That's a lot easier to identify. So if you're at an establishment like a restaurant where you can purchase whole fish and you have trained staff who can fabricate, awesome. Then you take the bones, you make stock, you go into that full whole use utilization, right? Now, does anybody have any questions about this? I know that was just those are a lot of facts and information, but this is something to be on the lookout for as not only a consumer, but also a restaurateur, chef. So, what do you say? Hey, how can we be a part of this? How can I be more aware? How can I be a part of the sustainable movement? Go into that research materials, right? And pull up your seafood watch. Hold on. This should do it. All right, for Monterey. Consumer guides, seafood recommendations. Who wants to tell me which state? What state do you want?
Texas.
Texas, let's do it. Boom. All right, let's zoom in here a little bit. Darn, where'd that little zoom button go? All right, as you can see, your best choices. So best choices, green, all right? Where are they coming from? Let me zoom in a little bit here.
Try to hold control on your mouse. Do the.
There we go.
Yeah.
Is that better for everybody?
Yeah, it looks better.
All right, cool. So you've got the best choices, which are green, good alternatives in yellow, and the red. Now, first, let's see how to use this guide, okay? So best choices. They also have an app, which is also handy for when whether you're out at a restaurant or you're purchasing. Best choices, they're well managed and caught or farmed responsibly. Again, we want to drive home that point. There is sustainability in both of them, wild caught and farm raised, and there are both bad practices in both of them as well, okay? So good alternatives, be aware, but dig a little deeper and avoid these, okay? Now, why are the reasons? It's not because the fish is necessarily bad for you, but it's because they're overfished. Or they're caught or farmed in ways that harm other marine life or environment. We'll go into that in a little bit about how fish are caught and different methods for doing this. But something to check. Look at this. I love the list. There are so many things on the avoid list that I should not have, right? Cod, but specifically Atlantic cod, all right? If you're looking at the red list, cod, Atlantic, all right, that are caught by gill net, longline, or trawling. However, if we hop on over to those best choices, we've got Pacific. That's on one of the best. So are you able to detect if you're getting Atlantic or Pacific cod? I know my eyes can't tell that difference. I see cod, I see wild caught. I think, yeah, that's gonna be great. If it doesn't designate Atlantic or Pacific, good chance I'm probably getting that Atlantic, right? Same for crab, look at this. So crab, you've got an avoid list from Argentina, Asia, and Russia, okay? However, crab from blue crab and king crab, snow crab, and tanner crab from Alaska and Maryland, and stone crab from the US are all on the good job, right? However, look, good alternatives. You see that crab over here in the yellow, blue from Alabama, Delaware, Maryland, and NJ Potts, okay? So they're saying, hey, this is not as good, right? So it goes on and on. So when you're purchasing, you should know. Another really important one, shrimp, like we were talking about. Shrimp is a huge seller. US farmed, one of the top choices. Then we hop on over to good alternative shrimp, Canada, US wild, Ecuador, and Honduras farmed. We hop on over to the red, shrimp, other imported sources. And that is because of poor management and farm-raised techniques that are happening where other countries don't have as tight of regulation, okay? That's what it comes down to. It's about regulations that each country has set. The ocean is, we've got some really interesting things, like you've got about, 1.25 miles offshore is considered, at first it was originally, the waters are for everybody and people could fish and be in them. And international waters are, nobody owns the waters. Then they moved it to a certain distance off of the shoreline that consider like U.S. waters or you know, Russia waters, et cetera, and that changed stuff. But so those regulations are determined based on those countries. Where's that shrimp being farm raised? Hey chef, would you do me a favor? Would you pull up some of those awesome visuals that you get for the farm raised, like tilapia and or shrimp from certain countries, and I will pull up the open pens.
Yeah, I have the aquaponics thing up already.
Let's rock it.
Oysters and the Lac Duart salmon.
Perfect. Okay, so class, so important things, right? These would be, if you were trying to have a farm to table and or a sustainable menu, these would be the fish and seafood that you want to highlight, okay? And you want to make a very clear point on your menu, specifying where they come from, okay? Again, just like if we talked about, hey, I've got that lettuce coming from down the road over at Lucy Lettuce's farm, right? And she's doing great. It's local, it's hydroponic and in the winter and land-based in the summer. You know, we're highlighting that specific varietal, that type. Same goes for fish, same goes for chicken, beef, et cetera, et cetera. Chef, I'm throwing it to you. Let's get those visuals coming up so you all can see what it looks like, what the difference is.
So we're gonna start with pretty much it's a fish tank. This is what you're going to see a lot in like China, Thailand, a lot of countries like that. So there's not a lot of ways to say it. This is pretty much a fish tank. This is a tilapia. You can see all of these packed in here. And I'm going to try to just get one more visual so we can see how many are in there. So it would be something like this. That's a lot of fish for not a lot of space. In other countries, they don't have the regulation. Think about how much is in this water from having that many fish and what they're breathing, what they're eating. So you really have to be careful. However,
antibiotics as well, chef. Sorry to jump in, but they've got to give these fish antibiotics because there's too much infection happening in those close of waters. Sorry, chef.
No. So this is obviously pretty bad. However, we can go to different extremes. We can go from a glorified fish tank, and then we can talk about something like aquaponics. So we see down here, these are tilapia. They have enough space. We can actually see through the water, which of course is a good thing. But we can grow plants. We can grow herbs, microgreens, hydroponic lettuce, bib lettuce. We can grow all of this directly above the aquaponic tank. An aquaponic tank, we have the plants feeding the fish, we have the water circulating, and we have the fish feeding the plants. You can actually buy an aquaponic tank for your house, a fish tank, and you can grow herbs and stuff on top. But this isn't that bad because now we're doing twofold. We're taking something that's fish waste, and we're using that now to grow, to fertilize lettuce and herbs and other light vegetable products, and now we're growing out of it. So there's definitely two big extremes, and a lot of it is the country exactly where it's coming from. This is another example of something that happens overseas. So you can see land. So they cut pretty much a moat out. But in that moat is dirt, is rocks. It's not natural water. You can even see it's brown. This brown is just all straight dirt. And then they just pack them in here pretty much in tarps. So again, there's big extremes on that. This is how they farm raise an oyster. So they have big ropes. They grow the oysters on them. They dunk the ropes in the water, and they grow. So oysters don't need to swim around. Oysters can use naturally what's circulating in the water. However, on big commercial oyster farms like this, they'll take the oysters. I know this picture's not loading directly. They'll take the oysters. They'll collect them. They'll have an assembly line like this. They'll shuck the oysters, the ones that they need to freeze or sell for shucking. They'll take the shells and they'll throw them directly back into the water. And the nutrients from the shells, the salt water breaks that down and it's feeding the next round of oysters. So this is farm raising, but they're doing something positive. They're doing something good by using the shells to fertilize the water for it. And when we talk a little bit more about farm raising fish, So we've really talked about kind of like the extremes, but we're going to talk about the other extreme now. So there's a salmon and a farm, and it's in Scotland, and it's called Loch Duart salmon. This is a big, huge bay called Loch Duart. Now this bay has these huge, if I can get off this photo, has these huge pens in it. And in the pens, the salmon are in there. They're farm raised, but they're controlled. They feed them natural products, and they have tons and tons, hundreds of yards to swim around. So they can control how many are in there. They can control what exactly they're feeding, but they're safe from natural predators. So if we took all farm raising and we had massive bays like this and we're growing salmon in it, that's not really that bad. It's farm raising, but in the most natural way that you actually could. Really, the only difference is they have a fence, and they have fences in here to control how many salmon can interact with each other. So this is another thing that's becoming more popular. This is another thing, it's a little bit of both. We have a natural river and seaway, and then in that, they dig it out. Again, we have pens, but we have natural circulating water in here. So it's a little bit of a mixture. So on farm raising, the biggest thing is you need to know where it's coming from. I see some things in the chat about that. And when Chef's talking about like fish fraud, unfortunately, you don't. You have to go to the most trusted suppliers that you can. And whatever you're going to sell, you have to educate yourself as much as possible on what it looks like. If you're going to have trout, maybe you have steelhead trout. Are you getting rainbow trout? Obviously, the skin is an easy sell, but maybe they're just fillets. Look at it, taste it. What does it look like cooked and raw? And you have to educate yourself, because some of the countries are, it's not so good. I would say tilapia and shrimp, though, are by far the extremes that are out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef, for all those visuals. I always love it. Yeah. So you guys, it's not just like, we always say, you've got to really start to evaluate what are those pros and cons. I'm going to go quickly over some other areas on Monterey Aquarium, seafoodwatch.org, so you can see some of the methods and why there is the disruption, as it said, when you could disrupt other marine life, right? If you're having a big trawl that goes in and scrapes the bottom of the sea floor, you're disrupting coral reefs, you're catching other byproducts that could either be then just tossed aside, killed and tossed aside, waste, killing, or who knows what. Additionally, those open pens, like open pen farm raised, hands down the way to go. You're controlled, you have it in great fresh water. Remember, also think about this, waterways. How polluted are our waterways? We could go on and talk, but unfortunately our time is limited. But think about one other funny thing. I was talking to Chef Rachel, who some of you may have had or will have again. And she brought up the idea of those microbeads that are in exfoliating scrubs. Those are made out of plastic. So we've got a whole other issue where we've got like little teeny microscopic bits of plastic floating around the ocean. Fish are going in, jumping it, trying to get some food, trying to catch a little mini fish, and taking that plastic in. So it gets really deep, right? We're talking about also what type of toxic water pollution is going into our waterways. How does that affect the fish and seafood that are living in those contaminated waters? That goes into their skin, right there. That's their home. That's their environment. They're absorbing it, just like mercury, et cetera, et cetera. So let's do a quick thing, and then we're going to quickly run over through the technique, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so here we go. There we go. This one I'm just going to go really brief because you have the link to this, so I want you all to do this on your own time. But here we go, right? We've got bottom trawls, right? That's what I was talking about, where it goes down and scrapes along the ocean floor. You've got beach and boat seines, dredges, gill nets, all right, which catch other animals, harpoons, the old classic way, hand lines and jigs, long lines, mid-water trawls. Go ahead, look into this because this is going to give you good information on that. And then if you have questions on any of this, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are here to help. We want you to have the best understanding that you possibly can. So if there's anything that you're confused about this, then it goes into recirculating tanks like Chef was showing with aquaponics, proper aqua and hydroponics. All right. So now let's get into this assignment. So self-ID, SANI, you guys know the drill at this point. Proper mise en place. We always want to see that all prepared so you're ready to rock and roll. parchment foil, how to cut this into a heart shape, old school style. When you made Valentine cards for your Valentine crush in grade school, where you take a piece of paper, you take a piece of parchment, fold it in half, draw a little half heart, and then cut along those sides right there. It's the easiest way to do it, okay? You want to make sure, something to note, it says folded and crimped package. That's why it's really important. We want to see this because you are essentially sealing in, you're crimping it all up so that it's nice and tight, because what's happening, what method of cooking is actually happening when you are, when you're in an enclosed package? What's happening? Think about it. Tight.
Little bit of steam and braise.
A little bit of steam. Yes, awesome. Less braise, more steam. You got it, Lorenzo. Awesome job. Love it. So here we go. Again, this recipe is going to be the exact same method for your veg and or your fish or seafood. Same ingredients. Your quick and easy switch outs is if you don't have dried marjoram, you could use another, I mean, marjoram is great, but if you had like dried oregano or dried thyme, that would also be a nice substitute. If you don't have chopped shallot, again, shallot is really gentle. It's just a little bit more mild. You could substitute with an onion if you do not have a shallot on hand. Now, you cut that piece of parchment into a heart shape, okay? Butter it, right? Oil, okay? Oil, butter, the melted butter, oil that down, and placing that fillet or the vegetables in the next assignment, in the next recipe, right on there. And then on top, then you are gonna, you know, of course, salt, pepper, your herbs and spices, layer those on top. And then again, really making sure that the package is tightly sealed.
Push.
Chef.
Just one quick thing.
Yeah.
You'll see it on the photo requirements. The easiest way to cut a heart, take your paper, fold it in half, draw half the heart, cut it out. You'll have an even shape on both sides. You'll have that natural crease, something you don't have to fold, but place the product on one half. You're using that as a lid, and then you're crimping around a nice natural shape. So place it on one half and you'll get a better fold. Definitely.
And make sure that you have enough space. You don't want to make it a really small heart, right? Give yourself ample room so that there's some room for the protein and the veg to be in, okay? Now, additionally, another really important thing, you have two options, okay? This says, place the folded package, step 4 I'm reading, in a saute pan, okay? This is getting the cooking process started. You're getting that heat started immediately, okay? Alternatively, if you were in a restaurant, you were doing banquet style and papilote, you might put those all on a sheet tray and throw them in your oven, okay? Either one of these methods work, but by starting it in a saute pan, you're getting that initial heat brought up quicker, okay? It starts the cooking process a little bit, all right? Gets that going. Then you place it into the oven. Again, you're gonna see that puff, like Lorenzo said, that's that steam, right? That's water and heat creating steam. It's gonna puff up, it's gonna make that parchment paper puff, okay? And bake it until it's puffed and brown. About 5 to 8 minutes, could be more depending upon the seafood or fish that you use, as well as the thickness of your cut of fish. Then, one of the very cool things about en papilote, and one important factor is what happens when we take a lid off of a pot or open up of something that's cooking. We're hit with that aroma, right? That is part of the experience because all of that flavor and aroma has been kept inside. Not in an open oven where all the aroma is going everywhere else. It's staying inside of that parchment. So that is part of the experience. You know, in a traditional way, it might be served like that, and it would be in old school French tradition, it would be cut in front of the guest, and you're hit with the aroma, boom, and then you dive into the plate. As you gain more and more experience with this, yes, you can definitely do a combined, you could put vegetables and fish on top together, right? But for this case, we really want them to be separate so you understand how seafood or fish is cooked in papilote as well as vegetables. Another tip on your vegetable, let me just pull that up really quickly, is your choice of vegetable, okay, and how you're going to cook it, all right? So any vegetable. Now, if we think about back to week 3 when we did poêlée, all right, and we said, hey, use a root vegetable. They're hardier, they're sturdier, they're gonna take they take longer time to cook, right? We know that a vegetable like broccoli or cauliflower or green bean is going to cook a lot quicker than a sweet potato or a rutabaga, okay? So think about that when you're making your choices, okay, of vegetables that you're cooking. Also think about how you actually cut them. So if I'm using carrots, I want carrots. Well, am I going to put in just huge cuts of a carrot? No, I'm going to go for like a julienne or a bâtonnet. Okay, I'm not going to go for oblique. I'm not going to go for large dice. I am going to go for a nice slender cut for those carrots so that it gets down. Another classic combination would be, some zucchini and squash. And maybe some peppers. Peppers also cook pretty quickly. So think about how your choice of vegetable and how you're going to actually cook that when executing these. Chef, anything that I missed?
No, I just want to show just a sample quick photo.
Yeah.
Just real quick so we have it on screen.
Totally.
I know that you are going to cook 2 separate pouches. You're going to have your fish or shellfish, and you're going to have your vegetables. You're going to do things separately. However, just for the folding purposes of visuals, fold your paper in half, draw it, cut out your heart. You have a crease in the middle, something you don't have to fold. Then watch the video. It shows this as well. But it's going to take probably 30 or so creases. You fold, and then on top of each other, you fold again. On top of each other, you fold again. So your end pouch will look something like this. You don't roll it. If you roll it, it's going to unroll when it puffs up. So you have to crease and crease and crease and crease all the way around. But you need the heart shape so you have a natural fold, and that's going to help a lot with the sealing.
All right. Any questions, class? No? All right. Well, I hope you enjoy this because it is a really fun technique. It's something new. It's something different. And I really hope that you explore the world of fish. And more importantly, if you have it in your budget, I would highly, highly suggest use this as an awesome opportunity to buy a fillet or, depending upon, like I said, what your budget is, or at some point do this. Get a farm raised and get a wild caught, whether you're doing shrimp or salmon, something like that, and do a side-by-side comparison just for your own experience. Look at the texture. Look at the color. How did the flavor of it, right? Cook it with something very neutral so you can actually understand and appreciate the flavor nuances of each of the two, and make a decision for yourself. Hey, what do you like? Guess what? Most people out there prefer farm-raised salmon. Why? Because that's what's being sold at the majority of restaurants. That's what people think of when they get salmon, is farm-raised salmon, not wild-caught salmon, unless you're specifically a salmon connoisseur or live in Alaska and are used to, eating a lot of wild-caught salmon. Otherwise, the majority of salmon out there, majority of shrimp out there is all farm-raised. So, yeah. All right. Again, please reach out if you have questions. Let's knock this out. We do have live session next week on Wednesday, as always. That'll be the last class before break. We'll talk about what's up with the assignment then for that week. But otherwise, have a great week, and we'll catch you then. All right. Take care. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chef.